Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Just trying to find you guys on my iPad. Wait till everybody tunes in. Say hello if you can see me. Oh, I think I may have just found it. Oh, gotta turn my sound down. There we go. Hello, hello, everyone. All right, now how do I make this big? All right, looks like I'm having some technology challenges. Bear with me just a moment. You guys are good. I'm just trying to find things here on my iPad so I can see your questions and see your comments. Oh, I think I found it. There it is. There we go. Hello, hello. Good evening. Welcome to Tuesday, August 23rd. I had to look at the calendar because I wasn't sure where we were. August is going way too fast. So we'll just give it a minute or two for people to pop on. The technique I'm going to show tonight might not be new to all of you. I have shown this before in a couple different scenarios, one of which being in Maker Mania. So tonight what we are going to be doing is making our own wood planks. So you can see here in the background, oh, my little butterfly got a little squashed there. In the background here, this is not pattern paper. This is do-it-yourself wood planks. And guys, it is so easy. So easy. So I may be ambitious, and I know we try to keep this to 30 minutes or so, but I'm going to try and make 3 cards tonight. Showing you this wood plank technique. I've got 3 different ideas. One is for a fall card, one is for a holiday card, and one is for more of a nautical card because I'm going to teach you how to kind of take it up a notch as well. So let's just get right into the basics. I think once we get through that, then it's gonna fly pretty darn quick. So I am trying to watch your comments, but my iPad keeps vanishing the comments, so please forgive me. I will do my best to keep an eye on those. If I miss your comment, don't sweat. Matt's looking at me funny.
Do you want me to stick around in case you have comments?
No, Matt's gonna go for a walk, so I will be monitoring comments. I just have to keep checking my iPad, but if I do miss them, don't worry. I will go back after the live and check those out and fill you in on anything that I may have missed. All right, so I'm going to start with a tag. The basics of this this technique is using your inks, and tonight I'm going to be using distress inks. I've got quite a collection of neutral colors, and that's, you know, I think that's why I tend to gravitate to the distress for this particular technique, because Tim likes his grunge, and so there is no shortage of grays and browns in all kinds of different shades to make whatever kind of wood plank you want. And in total transparency, I don't try to emulate any particular type of wood. I don't say, well, tonight I'm going to make a cedar card or, you know, a birch card. I just kind of go for that wood look. And again, you know, it's just about maybe mixing a few colors. It also kind of depends on your base color as well, the piece of paper you're going to use. So we'll experiment with a few different combinations and things tonight. You absolutely can do this with other inks as well. I like the minis. I think for this technique, they are super easy to handle, and that's why I have these pulled out tonight. All right, so the first one I'm gonna do a tag, not necessarily a card. This I'm gonna do a tag, and I'm gonna do something that is fall themed because I really want to use this beautiful Welcome Fall paper from Cartabella. It's in the Welcome Fall collection pack. So I'm gonna start just by cutting that piece of paper down. How big is this tag? This tag is 3 7/8 wide. So maybe I'll do 3 3/4 by 5. I'm just totally winging the size here. But I want to cover, just the top portion. So let's go down 5 inches. I'm going to overlap it so it does not matter how far down I go, and 3 3/4. That should fit pretty nicely in there. Let me go grab a corner rounder. Right back here in my tickle trunk. Okay, so this is just gonna go on top, and this is just, I'm kind of getting those prepped so that we can see where we want to go. So for this wood plank technique, all you need for your planks are strips of cardstock. So for this one, whoops, now I'm throwing everything around. I think I'm going to just use some white Neenah. This is my 80-pound Neenah that I would use for my coloring, my sentiments, all of that good stuff. And I'm just going to start by cutting this into strips. Now, because we are working with a smaller format, I mean, this is a pretty big tag for a, as far as tags go, but compared to the display that I showed you, or compared to using this on a layout, I don't want them so super big. Here, and if you were doing this on a layout, then definitely you can go fatter and chunkier, and you can also mix it up. Like if you look at a wood fence or a wood lattice or anything else, they're not always the same width. This looks like it's about 1.25 inches, so that's a really good size for a large format. I'm gonna go slightly smaller. I think I'm gonna do 3/4 of an inch. And so I'm just gonna cut some strips. And I'm not gonna use the whole piece here, so I'm just gonna cut it right down to 5.5, just so I have some space to work. I'm just gonna go 1/2 inch. Actually, no, I said 3/4 of an inch, didn't I? So I'm just gonna go 3/4 of an inch along, cut a whole bunch of strips. And I'm not worrying about the length just yet because I can cut those down afterwards. And this is probably good. I'm gonna leave this little bit extra in case I need it for sentiments and that kind of thing. So now I have a whole bunch of strips, or my planks as I call them. And wood is never just one color. So I'm going to pick a combination of colors, and I do want it to go with my fall paper here. So I think this Rusty Hinge would be good. Vintage Photo adds a little bit of darkness, and maybe some walnut stain as well. So those are the 3 colors I'm going to use tonight for my wood plank, keeping it in the browns. And let me just grab one plank and we will start. And I'll show you how fast and easy this absolutely is. So I'm going to start with my lightest one. And that's because I can always make things darker. It's really, really hard to make things lighter. So starting with your lightest one, you can always go back in and add more. Actually, you know what? I'm going to switch this. Sorry. Just as I'm looking here, I really like that tea dye in there. Well, you know what, let's keep them all here and let's just play with one. We'll see what our colors end up like. So I'm literally just gonna take my ink and I'm gonna drag. You don't wanna press hard. It's okay that you have stop and start points. And right now it just kind of looks like drag marks. But trust me when I tell you, when you put this all together, it all will make sense. Donna says she sees her corner punch. I wish it was yours. We'll have to make sure we get you hooked up with another one. So here again, I'm just gonna ink over, and like I said, I'm just using my lightest color. Oops. And it's okay if you go in different directions, because wood planks don't ever look the same. It's okay to get these lines through it, and to get the line, I'm just kind of tilting my ink pad so I get more of that edge. And the last one here. Okay, so that's color number one. Now I want to bring in some depth, and I'm gonna jump right to good old, no, maybe that's too dark. And you know what, the nice thing about this is if you really don't like something, just flip it over. You've got the other side. Yeah, okay, so I'm doing Rusty Hinge next. And this is gonna fill in some of the gaps. And you know what, if you're really lazy, or if you're really in a hurry, do two at once. So this is really kind of looking more like a redwood of sorts. Oops. But you can see with this layer, I'm not trying to get the same coverage as I did on the previous layer, but it's really starting to come to life. And this is bringing some depth to the situation. You may start getting inky on the fingers. Oops, that's okay. And then I think I will finish off with this vintage photo. And I'm just kind of hitting certain spots. I'm really not necessarily trying to cover at this point. Adding this vintage photo is knocking down some of the brightness of that rusty hinge. There we go. All right, so I am going to stop at this point. You can absolutely keep playing with your different colors. The one other thing that really helps bring the planks to life is doing the edges with your darkest color. And it can be, you don't need a blending tool or anything else. I'm just gonna drag it on the side. Let me just glue. I'm gonna glue this piece down here. So if I'm starting to plan things out, my idea is that I'm gonna come maybe like that and start building my fence, so to speak. Nat says cracks, warps, and knot holes. Absolutely. That is what we are trying to achieve here. And you know what? If there's an area that you don't like if I put this here and I'm not too fond of it, I can flip it around. I can use the other side. I can mix and match. I can move these guys around. That's why kind of planning it out is always helpful. Like so. And ultimately, I think what I'm going to do is I'm really going to make this a fence. So I'm going to put a railing, I guess, on the top. But I think I can come down a little bit. All right. So roughly, let's do a quick measure here. These are going to be roughly 4.5 inches. And you don't necessarily have to cut them off at the same or ahead of time. I could have just glued them down and cut them off afterwards, but I want to do some inking around those edges. So let's save that side for later. This side, and again, we're going to cover that top, so if I don't happen to get it exactly right, no big deal. This is such a forgiving and easy technique that there really is no way to screw it up. All right. So, typically you would not see a wood fence with rounded corners, but I kind of want to tidy it up a little bit just because it's on a tag. So I'm going to take that outside one and just round the corner there. Oh. No, it's not. Donna, you can have this one. No, I think it's just because when you get it wrong once, sometimes it doesn't always work. All right, so I'm going to just start placing these on with some adhesive. Oh, I forgot to ink it. I was telling you about inking, guys. All right, so just going to go right along the edges. I don't want a ton of ink going this way, so I'm trying to keep my ink pad pretty vertical. It's okay if a little bit gets over. And there we go. So there's number one. Line it up and go. All right, my next one. Let's just do some inky. Jennifer says she was just thinking about this technique. I think it was actually, excuse me, Maker Mania 2, because it was with the pink fresh paper. Let's do all my inking now while I've got it here. And again, just really getting basically creating the shadows or the delineations between the planks. This just helps them stand out a little bit more and really gives that wood look. I've actually done a layout with sliding barn doors. I actually should find that. I'm in the midst of purging and reorganizing my craft room. It seems like it is a never-ending process. This one I want to round the corner as well. Let's do it that way. On the other side. But that was a cool layout. I love that layout. I have to find that one. And I used this same technique, and I actually created the X's across the barn doors. It was really cool, if I do say so myself. All right, so I'm going to quickly tack these down. And all I'm doing is lining them up side by side. And I'm trying to make sure I'm finding light and dark areas so that it doesn't look seamless. We don't want it to look seamless. I'm going to flip that so there's a little bit more lightness up there. And see how that's coming together? Like it's pretty spectacular for such an easy technique. All right. Let's go that way. And my one with the corner. Like so. And then, like I said, I want to take this kind of across the top there. And maybe one of these shorter ones that are already cut will work. There we go. So let's just do the side edges. Maybe not that one. Oh, this one's nice. Like that. I like that one. So again, just edging it up. And yeah, you're going to start to get ink on your fingers, but hey, if you're not inky, you're not having nearly enough fun. Okay, I'm a little bit long. Everyone doing okay? Seeing everything? All right, so now I've got my fence with the leaves falling in the background, and I'm gonna grab the sticker sheet from this collection pack as well. Let's see what's on here. I think this is where I'm going to take this flower and I want something. My fall is my favorite. Is that going to be too big? Let's do this one. So fall is made with pumpkin spice and everything nice. I'm going to put it right down here on my plank. And yeah, I'm going to cover up this little flower here, but that's okay. Oh, here they are. Let me grab some foam dots. One down here, one here, and powder tool. Whoops. That's what happens when you have big feet. It's amazing I can never find my powder tool when I want it. All right, I think it'll be okay though. Get rid of some of the sticky. And let's tuck this guy here. And then maybe do something small. What about a little teal pumpkin? There. Just a cute little tag. So that is technique number one. And I love how that has turned out. And it's amazing that we just started with strips of paper. And when they're all just kind of lying there on the table, they don't look like much, but when you put it all together, it is absolutely phenomenal. All right, so how are we doing for time? Wow, I've already used up 25 of my 30 minutes. That's okay. You guys want to keep crafting? You want to keep crafting? Okay, let's do a winter one. This one, I am going to do something very similar, but I'm going to show you what a different color combination might look like. And wow, I keep knocking that scoreboard over. All right, so let's do something wintry. I have some dies and some sentiment stamps from Hero Arts. And I think I may have even teased at one point that I was going to use this. So this is the Holly Berries Stamp and Cut. This is the stamp set that goes with it. Lots of great sentiments. But it has some amazing die cuts that I have just cut out of green paper. So that is the foliage that I'm going to use. I'm going to bring in some extra color. But I'm going to do this on a card. Here's a card base. And this time I'm going to do more gray tones. And I'm going to start on a light craft paper. So in this example, you're going to see how doing different paper, different background paper already gives you a base of what to work with. Now I could start with a gray paper, but I think this one's too pale. So I'm going to try it with this brown. And so let's do it again. Let's just trim this paper down. And I'm actually going to turn it this way. Yeah, so let's start again. Let's do 5.5 by 5.5. Measurements don't really matter because we are going to trim it down. And this time, are we going to, yeah, let's stick with even planks. We'll stick with that 3/4 width. That was pretty good. Just moving right along here. Save that. Okay, so this time, like I said, I'm going to do some grays. So I'm going to grab pumice stone and I'm going to grab hickory smoke. These are both really nice warm grays. I could go into, say, the weathered wood, but this has more blue tones to it. And because I'm using the craft, I want to keep it a little bit warmer. But you know what's also fun? Let's bring in just a hint of green with the iced spruce. That is cool. So let's just start. Let's spread them out. Approximately how many do I need to cover this up? 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what? We're going to do them all. So I'm going to start with the pumice stone and exactly the same technique. We're just going to drag. And different paper is going to have different texture. So where this one, because the paper was super smooth, we got one kind of look with the drag marks. This one, I don't know if you can tell, but it is picking up some of the texture of the paper, which also makes it really interesting. Now, like I said, if you want some more lines, you can just go up on the edge, like so. And the key is to not overthink it. You may think, oh, I've got a big old splotch there. Well, we can move it around, we can cut it off, we can cover it up, or maybe once we get all the layers of ink on here, you won't even notice. And the nice thing too is when you start looking at them, you can go back and say, oh, I think I need a little bit more in there. You can always add. It's harder to take away. Now, I've been doing multiple colors. The first one I did had those 3 colors. This one's got 3 colors as well. If you just want to do 2 colors, you can. If you want to do 5 colors, you can. There are no rules to this. All right, so that was the pumice stone. I'm going to do the hickory smoke next. Looking good, looking good. Now, the one thing that I might suggest that you avoid is going so dark as in doing black. I think the black soot would just be too harsh. You could maybe use like really dark colors on your edges. But if you start going in with something that's too dark, you're gonna lose your layers of dimension. And that would be a shame. Now again, you could always just flip it over. See how those are coming together? That's looking really cool. Now, let's see what this ice spruce does. Trying to look for one that I might not like as much in case I have to turn it over. Here we go. That's kind of neat. So this is just bringing in, when it's layered on top, it's just bringing in a depth to it. You don't really see the green. So I'm not going to do too much. I don't think I need a whole lot of this. All right. This is also going to help tie in the greenery when I bring that in as well. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. So this time, I think I'll use that hickory smoke for edging. But let's see where we're gonna edge first. Again, I think I'm gonna go about 2/3 of the way up. This time what I'm going to do is, instead of cutting them ahead of time, I'm gonna edge the 3 sides. I'm gonna lay them down and then I will trim off afterwards. Cheryl's asking, is it better to use the small pads or will it work with the large pads? It will totally work with any pad that you have. I just like the little ones because, especially in a small format like this, it's giving me a little bit more control. And it's not, like when I'm dragging over it, I mean, yes, I'm making a mess here on my desk pad, but I'm not wasting a ton of the ink. Whereas if you had a big pad, you might find that you're going a little bit more rocky. Not a bad thing, just for this smaller format, I like the control that I have with the mini pads. Try it. I mean, like I say with a lot of things, you won't know until you try it. So if you've only got large pads, try it with the large pads. If you like it, stick with it. If you feel like you're not getting the look that you want, maybe pick up 1 or 2 minis. The minis are always great to have in your stash for traveling and for smaller projects. And you get to choose, you know, a few more colors affordably without having to invest in, you know, the big pads. So I'm just bringing out the edge here so that we've got a little bit more definition in the planks. All right. So I'm going to start at the fold. And I'm going to move it out this way. This way, if I have one left over that I need to trim off, it's easier to do this. Janice is saying she did this with red and green when she made some Christmas cards. Absolutely. You can make your own wood. Wood can be painted. Wood can be stained or varnished or what have you. I mean, you could go over this with a glaze of some sort if you wanted this to be a little bit shinier. Absolutely feel free to bring in the colors that you are using in your project. All right, so like I said, I'm coming up about 2/3 of the way. We're gonna make our little fence. And you know what, I'm showing you fences. We could just do wood. Like, it doesn't even have to be anything real. It could just be a wood display. So you know what, I'm gonna change this up. I'm gonna do more of a treatment where it's very random and abstract. Maybe this one will come in from the top. Just remember that I only inked one end, so I need to make sure that my ends stay, the inky ends stay. Okay, so maybe let's go back here. And like I said, we got one more little piece here on the end. That'll get trimmed off. Okay. Kind of interesting. All right, so I'm going to flip it over, trim off my excess, following the line of the card. Linda is saying at this point she would have ink everywhere. Well, I don't know if you're just tuning in late, Linda, but I seem to have everything everywhere tonight. I was kicking my tools around. I do have ink all over my desk mat here, but you know what? That's what it's for. You are not having enough fun if you are not inky. And that's where you get your scrubby soap out and you give yourself a little scrub afterwards. This one here, I feel like I need a little bit of tape in the corner. Whoop. All right. So I think in hindsight, if I were to do this again, I might do some kind of soft ink blending in behind. This white against the wood paneling is maybe a little bit stark, but that's okay because we're gonna fill it in. I want to do a little bit of ink blending just on the edges here. Yeah, so this is peeled paint, and this is just gonna help me give some dimension. And this was a tip that Libby shared when she was teaching us about reactive ink. And this is where I, was playing with the colors here, is that sometimes it's nice to start with a color already so you don't have to work so hard to get color all over. This is just some basic ink blending, but you can see how that now has changed that leaf and given it a little bit more dimension. Soften out the starkness of the greenery. Do I want another one or do I just stick with that? You know what, I'm gonna just stick with the one. Oops, I got wood sticking to my finger. All right, let's just stick this baby down.
Cheryl wants to know if you is it better to use small ink pads or does it also work with large ones?
We already got that one. Thanks, Matt. Matt's back from his walk. Say hi, Matt. Janice is asking, sorry. Linda heard my crashes. Yep, that's me crashing around. Janice is asking, do I save the scraps for another card? Absolutely. Some of these I have tape on already, so those ones I'll probably toss. But I could absolutely keep these guys that I've already trimmed off and save them for another project. Or you could always decorate the inside or put it on your envelope. I need a sentiment. Let's do a sentiment here. Why don't we just do have a joy-filled Christmas? I think that would look lovely. Alrighty. Lots of ladies are saying hi to you, Matt.
I see that.
Block, block. Get that in place.
Darlene's on.
I did see Darlene on, even though she's on vacation. Everybody wish her a happy vacation. Okay, so I'm going to pull out this white strip that I had from the first one. Make sure my stamp is right side up. Excuse me if my head gets in here. It's a little crooked. It's a little crooked. So we'll stand up and we'll try again. There we go. That's much better. Can I snug that in there? Yeah, okay. stick. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of our Indulgent Red Gilded Touch gilding wax. Just squeeze out a little bit there. And I've just got one of my little pencil blenders. This is not for the faint of heart. I should have done this before I glued it on.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. Matt's heckling me from the other room, but there, we just added that little touch of red. And look how simple and yet how beautiful that looks. So that is my Christmas card. All right, do we have time? Do we have time? I know I'm way over time, but I'm the boss, so what are you gonna do, guys? I wanna show you one more thing. I wanna show you the idea I had for my nautical project, and we'll keep it simple, but I need some more planks. Maybe this time I will use the gray. I'm gonna show you a tip. I'm going to show you a trick on how to make your wood planks and then die cut them. And your guys are going, what? What? Die cutting or planks? Absolutely. I'm actually going to use this die here and we're going to cut it out. It's called the Lighthouse and Sailboat Cover Plate. So actually, Matt says shocked. You guys must be shocked that I want to do a lighthouse. I think I want it to be a little... No, you know, we're just going to go with it. We're going to go with it. So the other thing, so this is my gray piece that I'm going to cut into planks. We're going to do our wood technique on this. But what you also want to have, which I have behind me, is just a piece of computer paper. So what we're going to do is we are going to build on the computer paper before we die cut. Because we want something that we can build on, but we don't want something so super thick that it's going to cause a lot of grief for the die cutting. So this is just going to go off to the side. I'm going to cut these into planks. For expediency, let's stick with our 3/4. That's worked well for us tonight. 3/4. Lost my track. And this time I need all of my pieces. So there's 3/4 there. One piece is not going to be exact, and that's okay. Okay, I'm going to make this quick, and I'm only going to do 2 colors. Let's do...
Casey wants to know why you don't color before you cut.
Why am I not coloring before I cut? Because I still want the planks. I still want the edges. I still want the planks. I guess I could ink it, then cut it, and then do the edges. But I find that if I do it all together, they're going to start to look like they're all together, and I want them to look like individual pieces of wood. So by doing them individually, I'm going to get different tones in different areas. So what does this look like? All right. I think my weathered wood needs a good re-ink. So I'm going to just do 2 colors on this. Yeah, I definitely need a new re-inker. So that's a nice thing about minis too, is you can re-ink them. Here we're just knocking down some of the starkness of that original gray. So you see how, on this one here, I've started in different places. This way I can get the different levels of tone. Whereas if I was just doing one whole piece, I might turn into doing ink blending, which is not what I want. All right, let's just do hickory smoke. Ooh, that's kind of neat. Oops. So with this particular concept that I'm going to do next, you don't want paper that's too thick. You want to keep it so that when you put it through the die cut, it's not going to give your die a whole lot of trouble. All right, just trying to get my edges. And yes, my fingers are getting inky. Again, this is forgiving. If you happen to get fingerprints on it, it's just gonna look like a knot or some kind of funkiness in the bark of the wood or the wood grain. So it actually works in your favor. Okay. My little guy. And I don't even have to put these back in order onto my paper. Okay, everything's ready. Now I've got my base, my computer paper. Now with this one, I am going to do just the tape runner, but where I normally would just do little bits, I'm actually going to put the strip of tape runner all the way across. If you would prefer, you could use liquid glue. You would just want to make sure that it dried and set before you tried to run it through the die cut machine. I would think that if it was still wet, you might have trouble die cutting it smoothly. All right. And you do want the whole length of it glued down, because when we cut it out, if you've not glued something, it's gonna pop back up. Not to say that you can't glue it back down later, but let's try and get as many pieces stuck to the surface as we can. Okay, now I'm gonna squeeze the little guy in. I just didn't want to put him right down the middle. And last one. All right, so here is where the magic happens. Okay, so this one has a frame. Let's see. Get it off the tape here.
Glad to see you practice this before you did it.
Matt's heckling me again. He's saying he's glad to see I practiced this beforehand. But you guys know me. It's all about winging it. So that's what we're going to attempt. So let me go off camera. I apologize if there are any earthquakes. Now, I'm just going to show you. When you put a cover plate through, don't put it straight on. You want it to go on a bit of an angle so that when the pressure starts coming across, it catches this corner first and it'll come working its way across. All right, I'm going to put a little piece of tape on here. Linda, how could you forget about having a lighthouse? My goodness. Well, now that you already have it, now that you know this technique, assuming that it's going to work, you could try one of these. All right, let's die cut. Dun, 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 dun.
Moment of truth.
This is definitely the moment of truth. You know what, guys? I'm going to give it one more run through. It looks like it's cut in most areas, but cover plates can be tricky. So I'm just going to notch it to the other side. And let's do it one more time. Woohoo! I think it worked. So we still may need to put some pieces back in place, or you could make two cards in one. You could use the negative space on one side. And yeah, it looks like I lost a little piece up there. And this is where I was saying you really need to make sure that everything's glued down. I'm going to leave, oh. Okay. Anyways, you get the idea. So this is definitely where you want it all glued. There you go. So it looks like I've got a couple pieces where I didn't glue that. I'm gonna go back in and do some surgery. But you get the idea. Where now we have this amazing wood grain lighthouse. And it just looks stunning. So I will finish this up off camera and post here in the comments. But lots of great techniques for doing your own wood grain. Get out your mini inks, grab some new mini inks if you need to, and get a little bit inky. So that's it for me tonight, folks. Thank you for joining my Learning Live. And next week, Darlene will be back, and she's going to be playing with Tim Holtz houses and wood grain paper and all kinds of good stuff. So make sure you tune back next week. All right, have a good night, everyone.